As much as I can, I like to keep my life as simple as possible. I have a job, I spend less than I earn most of the time, and I aim to save 100% of my savings in Bitcoin. So when someone says like, "Hey, you should consider investing in the stock market, the S&P 500, Tesla stock, Apple stock, um, invest in real estate homes to rent them out to people," in my head, and I like to just do the math, it needs to do better than my Bitcoin savings because I want to keep my life simple. I want to provide value to others, and I just want to save in Bitcoin. So I thought it would be an interesting experiment to just compare how Bitcoin does against other investments. So let's just dive right in. So here is Bitcoin, and I thought it'd be good to just show how does Bitcoin, it's up 23.9% so far this year as of August 6th, 2025, right? So let's compare Bitcoin to the S&P 500 year to date. The S&P 500 is up 7.87%, right? So let's compare Bitcoin to, let's say, Apple, Apple stock. Apple is down 14.16% so far this year. So let's compare Bitcoin, so let's say Tesla. Tesla is down 20% this year, about 21%. So let's compare Bitcoin to the NASDAQ, which is a basket of uh, all the tech companies, right? The NASDAQ is up 9.48% this year so far. So now let's do a 1 year comparison. So Bitcoin is up 106% over the last year. The S&P 500 is up 21%. Apple is up 3.6%. Tesla is up 59%. And the NASDAQ is up 29%. So you can see Bitcoin, just saving your money in Bitcoin has outperformed literally everything in the stock market. And this is the same thing for your 401k or your IRA. If you have a Bitcoin ETF in any of those accounts, they will more than likely outperform other stocks over the long term. And that's the key. Our time horizon needs to be 4 years, 8 years, and so on. So, with that said, let's look at how Bitcoin, if you saved in Bitcoin, literally you just put your savings there versus investing in the stock market over the last 5 years, how would you have performed? So you can see the chart here. Bitcoin is up 878% over the last 5 years. The S&P 500 is up 89%. Apple is up 93%. Tesla is up 229%. And the NASDAQ is up 92%. And again, there's nothing wrong with these numbers. These are great numbers for these companies, for the stock market as a whole, for Apple, for Tesla, for the NASDAQ as a basket of stocks. But when you compare it to Bitcoin, again, we all need to use Bitcoin, I believe, anyway. And this is not financial advice. Take this all with a grain of salt. I just like to show people the actual numbers of how things compare. If we just save in Bitcoin over the last 5 years versus investing in the stock market, there clearly you would have been up, you would have done well, right? But obviously, with Bitcoin, your savings would have grown exponentially greater than investing in the stock market. So that's why, me personally, I use Bitcoin as my benchmark. If I'm going to take on a huge mortgage and invest in a home that I want to rent out to people, then that home needs to the appreciation of that asset needs to do better than Bitcoin, which as of today it has not been. If I'm going to invest in the stock market, which is the S&P 500, for example, and again, these are the 500 biggest companies in the US. They have CEOs, they have boards, they have shareholders, they have someone that controls it. Then these companies need to perform better than Bitcoin. And I believe the best thing, or one of the best things that we could all do, is use Bitcoin as our measuring stick, right? So if someone asks you, like, hey, I need you to invest in my company, I need you to put money here, you need to ask yourself or consider asking yourself, if I invest in your pizza store, or if I invest in this or invest in this real estate or this or that, will it perform better than Bitcoin? Because again, Bitcoin is a scarce asset. You can't make more of the Bitcoin, right? There's only 21 million. There will only ever be 21 million. Apple stock, Apple can issue more shares. Tesla can issue more shares and dilute you. The companies in the S&P 500, they could all issue more shares and make your shares worth less. But if you just save that money in Bitcoin, your money will do what it has to do and it will grow its purchasing power. So Bitcoin, I feel similar to gold, way back in the day, say 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago, the person who is a dentist or a doctor or a plumber, all they would do is work and save in gold, right? So they measured the performance of all their investments against gold. So it needs to do better than their gold savings if they're going to invest their money in something else. And I feel like Bitcoin is bringing that idea back where all you need to do, regardless of the type of job that you have, is provide value and do amazing at your job and just save your surplus in Bitcoin. I do understand the idea that people feel the need to diversify. But essentially, when you're diversifying your portfolio, you're saying you want less Bitcoin, right? So, but I can also understand that some people would like real estate income. But you got to bear in mind, if your Bitcoin is going up 878% over the last 5 years, I've used that as an example. If you want to spend some of that Bitcoin for income, you would be completely fine to do so because the Bitcoin is still compounding and growing aggressively even as you spend it. And then as it continues to grow, you would need to spend less of it to get more things because the purchasing power of your savings is growing. So I feel like Bitcoin is really changing the landscape of how we think about our savings and how we think about investing in companies, which I feel are two different things. Again, there's no controller of Bitcoin, there's no CEO of Bitcoin. It's just a commodity like gold where you can save in it and just leave it there and let it be. But obviously, you can see the chart is up and down, right? But remember, anytime you want to save in Bitcoin, always think about it for a time horizon of 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, and so on. If you're thinking about buying Bitcoin and you need it in a couple of months or within a year, then obviously Bitcoin is volatile. But remember, Bitcoin's volatility is goes up and to the right. So it's going to the upside. So again, if your time horizon is long, you will be just fine. And remember, just to keep comparing these numbers, Bitcoin is outperforming the S&P 500, is outperforming Apple, Tesla, and all the tech stocks when you zoom out and you have a longer time horizon. So if someone wants you to invest in something, if someone wants you to invest in real estate or invest in their company, you yourself, we as a community that save in Bitcoin, we need to be like, okay, well, how will this compare? If I invest in your company, will it do better than Bitcoin? And that'll be the question that you ask yourself. And it's a really great question because it's all just math at the end of the day. You know, we could all say Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, but it's really, there's an honesty to just showing the numbers because people lie, numbers don't. So with that said, I hope that was helpful and I hope you enjoyed the video. Um, Keep asking questions, keep stacking sats, and I will catch you on the next one.